All right, what's up, everyone? It's Zach, and today I'm here with a very special guest. I'm here with Natalia Kumar. Natalia, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Good, yeah. Thanks so much for taking the time to join. Really excited to talk with you. So, Natalia currently is a lead designer at Ford, and she actually is also a contestant on The Amazing Race season 33, where she is competing with her dad. So that's a little bit about Natalia, but do you kind of mind talking a little bit about yourself, who you are, your background, what you're up to, all that good stuff?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like you mentioned, like one of the things that I'm really super passionate about is travel. And so
Yeah,
being currently on the Amazing Race has just been a dream of mine. And I've been watching that show with my dad since I was like 8 years old. So now that to kind of live out that dream has just been
yeah,
like unreal. Like I keep pinching myself and like it's just started airing. So I'm like, is this actually reality right now?
right.
But yeah, just since I was young, I've been traveling with my family and exploring different places, and that's just something I'm really, really passionate about.
That's awesome. Yeah, traveling is such just a beautiful and fun way to just see more parts of the world and to just experience different things. I think that like sometimes we get caught up in life about like material possessions or just the hustle and bustle of daily life. We kind of forget to stop and have those experiences. So I think traveling really provides those for us.
Exactly. And that's why, like, especially nowadays, like with like the pandemic going on and
Hmm.
things like that, like being in quarantine, you really realize like how much you miss going to new places and interacting with new people and things like that. So sometimes we take traveling even for granted.
Right, definitely. That's a really good point. And now I'm curious, since traveling is such a passion for you, when you compete on something like the Amazing Race, you're going all over the world and you are traveling, but it's also a competition and there's probably a lot of stress involved. Does that take kind of some of the enjoyment of traveling out of the experience, or do you still really get to take in the places you travel while you're competing?
Oh yeah, for sure. Everyone's like, "Oh yeah, you went on a vacation." I'm like, they're like, "You must have like enjoyed all these beautiful sights." I'm like, with the adrenaline of the race, you're not really looking at anything around you.
Right.
There was like one time where we had to like run up all these steps and see this
Hmm.
like beautiful view. And they were like, once we came down, someone was like, "Oh, how was the view?" And we're like, "We didn't even look at the view because all it's you're really in a high stress, like high adrenaline environment when you're like competing. So
Right.
you don't there was moments where we had to just take a second though and be like, look where we are, and we appreciate the beauty of what we're doing right now. But yeah, with that adrenaline rush, it was hard for sure.
I can imagine. And now, like, just with, shooting for the show and competing and everything, is it just kind of like super quick, boom, 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 like here you're going all over the place? Or do you actually get downtime, like behind the scenes, to maybe stay and do like touristy things, like on your own free time?
No, yeah, no touristy things. I would have loved
Okay.
that, but yeah, they like you race and then you pretty much go to a hotel if you're lucky. And our season is kind of unique because we started filming in February 2020, right before the pandemic hit.
Right. Okay.
And so we didn't realize what was really going on when we started filming the first couple of episodes.
Yeah.
And those were really just back to back to back. And then we got shut down after 3 episodes, and they said, well, there's a pandemic, like we have to send you
Hmm.
home, put production on pause. And we just didn't really they take your phones away from you, and we weren't really watching the news during the
Oh,
those
okay.
first couple episodes, so we had no idea what was going on. Here we are like like racing around in these countries not knowing like what is happening in the world.
Oh man, that's crazy. Yeah, I can't even imagine like just like you said, the stress of the actual race and the competition, and then just like when you're detached from what's going on in the world, and they just say like, "Hey, like there's a situation on in the world," like
Right.
that's just so much kind of almost like out of nowhere coming at you.
Yeah, for sure. But it
Oh
was
wow.
interesting, yeah, because the
Yeah.
second time we went back, you asked like, did we have breaks in
Hmm.
between? When we restarted filming, because of COVID, we had to get COVID tested
Okay.
every in between our legs. So that's when we actually did have a break in
Okay.
between legs. But we still only had to stay like in our hotel rooms, but we
Okay.
couldn't go exploring.
Gotcha. And when did you resume filming after like the break for the
This
pandemic?
fall, so just a couple months ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So pretty recent than that. So you said you started February 2020
Yes.
and then fall of 21. Wow.
Yep. Yeah. 19
Okay.
months.
Geez. I mean, during that time, like what was kind of like the feelings or emotions of it? Was it kind of like, is this ever gonna pick back up, or like what were you feeling during that time?
Yeah, like we had no idea, and we thought there were some times where we thought like, oh, the show wouldn't even see the light of day. Like we filmed those three
Hmm.
episodes, and we're like, well, we don't even know if it's going to continue. Like they could just
Right,
scrap the entire thing. So it was a lot of uncertainty, like during the pandemic, and obviously the pandemic's still going on, but during
right.
the time when we resumed till we resumed filming, it was just like uncertainty. We didn't even know if we were going to go back or not.
Oh man, yeah, and I'll definitely say that I've always been a fan of The Amazing Race. I've loved it, and I love all like the kind of reality shows like that. So I definitely watch those. And when the pandemic first came about, I was thinking to myself, like, I don't know if The Amazing Race is ever going to be on, again,
Right.
or even for a few years, until we can maybe get, you know, a vaccine or whatever, or just like the world gets in a little better place. So I was pleasantly surprised to see season 33. Like it was just kind of like I didn't even know it was coming. Then I think I saw commercials like, oh my God, it's back.
Yeah. Yep. We were excited to finally share it with everyone because after keeping
Yeah.
it for secret for so long, it was like nice to be able to talk about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's probably a good point. Like you have to keep it secretive the whole time, right?
Yep, exactly. It was funny
Okay.
because some of my friends were getting calls because you go through like a pretty extensive interview process and like background checks
Okay.
and things like that. And so they they call like your friends and your family as part of the
Yeah.
background check, and they were like, "Are you applying to like the CIA or something? Like, why are we getting all these background checks?"
That's
So
funny.
yeah.
Okay. So like, and to anyone that competes on the race that is working for a company or they're employed, are they even allowed to say something to their employer, or is it just like, hey, I have to
Yeah,
go on
so
this leave?
my supervisor at work had to sign an NDA because I had to
Okay.
take like initially first they said a month off work. So that
Okay.
was like kind of exception. Like they signed the NDA and then I could talk to them about it, tell them what I
Okay.
was doing.
Okay. Gotcha. Wow, that's there's so much behind the scenes that like I feel like just as like a fan, I haven't really thought of or never really knew that went into it. But that's crazy that it's such an extensive process, especially with like the interviews and stuff.
Right. Yeah, yeah, the
Um,
interview process. Yeah.
yeah.
They make you like do a little mini version of the race. They It's a lot of just
Okay.
interviews with like casting and some of the producers and things like that.
Yeah. Awesome. And so your partner for the race is your dad. So how was that experience? Was that like something where you said if you ever were to do the race, you'd want to do it with him, or does he have that same passion and interest in the show that you've always had?
Oh yeah, he's a super fan like me of the show.
Okay.
Like it's always been his dream to like go on the show. But it's kind of a funny story of how we actually got on the show
Okay.
because I initially actually applied with my fiance in
Okay.
2016. We just submitted an application, a video. We were just like that was the only time I actually even applied. And then 3 years later, I actually got a call from the casting director, and they were interested in moving us forward in the audition process. But my fiance, and not, he's not my husband, but he works in the hospital, so he couldn't take that much time
Hmm.
off.
Okay.
And yeah, so my dad found out, and he's like, "Tell him I'm available." Like, and first I had applied with my fiance at the time,
Yeah.
and then it just ended up working out.
That's awesome. Wow, that is kind of funny story, but I mean it's kind of one of those like everything happens for a reason type thing. And um,
Exactly.
I know that just like even before I knew that we're both from Michigan. When I was kind of like checking out the cast, I was like, oh, like I love the good old like child and parent team that always like just brings joy to me. So I was like, you guys are gonna be my team. And then I was like, oh, you're from Michigan too, even better.
Yeah, and you said you were from Plymouth, right? I used to
Yeah.
live in Plymouth, so that's funny.
Oh no
Yeah,
way. Okay.
yeah. I'm in
Awesome. Yeah.
Canton now.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. Well, yeah, it's it's awesome that you had that opportunity and that you and your dad could experience that together. Going into the race and competing, was there anything that you were worried about in terms of like the relationship with your dad? Like, I know we've all probably seen people get like stressed and like, yelling at each other or just like nitpicky and stuff. Like, were you ever worried that the stress would get to you guys, or did you feel pretty comfortable that you could make it through like tougher situations?
I felt pretty comfortable. Like my dad and I will fight in normal life about like
Okay.
small things, but it's just kind of like very lighthearted things.
Yeah.
We've never had really like any huge fights. The
Okay.
thing with the race though is you don't realize how your relationship with your partner really gets put to the test, because in real life you might be in high stress situations, but the
Hmm.
race is something else with like
Yeah.
the adrenaline and everything like that. So yeah, there's definitely a couple of times where we got into some fights on the race.
Okay. Yeah, I imagine, it's just part of the process, and no matter how close or great relationship you have with whoever you're going into, like you said, it's just a different beast, and the adrenaline and just, the fast pace of it might get to you at some point.
Exactly.
So, I mentioned that I, enjoy these kind of reality shows and stuff, and I think about like a show like Survivor or something, you can practice starting a fire or something, or you can practice survival skills before you go on a show like that. But for the Amazing Race, was there anything that you could really do or that you did do that helped prepare you for the competition?
I think a lot. So from the time we found out we were going to be on the show and then till we actually like started, it was only a couple of weeks.
Oh
So
wow.
we didn't
Okay.
actually have that much time to prepare when we
Okay.
went the first time. So we really just focused on like figuring out getting. They actually don't give you a packing list either. They just tell you bring whatever you want. Like you can bring a suitcase if you want.
Okay.
And so we did a lot of research, and some other cast members from the past had done like packing videos and things like
Hmm.
that to really make sure that we were packing right, and then even practicing like running with backpacks and things like that, because there's like a lot of items you wouldn't think
Yeah.
you need, but they like, for instance, they take out your alarm clocks from your hotel rooms, and
Oh,
so we made sure we had like alarm clocks, because no one wakes you up to start like one of your legs, so that was really
yeah.
important, things like that.
Wow. An alarm clock. That's
Yeah.
again something I wouldn't think of. Or like, you said they took your phones. I just use my phone for my alarm, so I just think, oh,
Yeah.
I have my phone. But
Yep.
wow. Okay. And I'm assuming, like, if you forget something, you can't necessarily just say like, oh, I'm just gonna run down to the drugstore, to the store down the street and buy it, right? You're probably
Right. No. Yeah. Because
like,
they
yeah,
take all
in
your
race
money and
mode.
everything. They give you money when you start a leg, but that's all you have pretty much. Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, because I remember, like, this was years ago, so I don't know if they've changed the
Yeah.
rules or anything, but I remember seeing like an episode where they gave the team money for the start of their leg, and then they like ran out of it. Like, I guess they didn't budget properly or
Right.
something. Like, is that still a possibility that you could do?
Yeah. You could definitely run out,
Okay.
especially like they give you a specific amount. So you should be comfortable with the amount of money you
Okay.
get. But like, let's say you get lost or something and you have to use that money
Yeah.
to fill gas.
Hmm.
Then you might like use extra money that you weren't initially like allocated to. So that's where you might
Yeah.
run out of money that you might need.
Oh man, yeah, I just feel like there's just so much that goes into this show that, like, as the fan sitting on the couch, I love it and enjoy it, but there's so much that goes over my head that it's so cool to hear about and to hear kind of all that goes into this experience.
Yeah, it was really cool seeing like the behind the scenes things. Because
Hmm.
like you were saying, like as we watch on TV, you don't realize how much actually goes into it. So
Yeah.
that was really interesting. And I keep saying like I will never judge people on reality TV again after like
Hmm.
going through it. Because it's just you don't understand, like people don't understand like how the environment, the stress,
Yeah.
and people, it really like affects your like decision thinking and your mind. And so I was like,
Hmm.
I will never judge anyone ever again.
Definitely. And thinking about, like you said, not judging the other people that are on reality shows, or even just thinking about the other contestants on your season. Now, it's always cool to meet people and everything, but like, do you have time to actually meet people and build relationships while you're on the show? Or is it kind of like, again, just so fast paced that, you're going to be pleasant, say, hey, get to know people a little bit, but it's kind of hard to actually form relationships with other teams?
Yeah, so it's interesting because some of the teams that ended up being on our season were actually in our audition process with us. So we saw
Oh,
them, but
okay.
you're not allowed to talk to anyone. And then before we even start the race, you go and do like a week of like orientation. So you're like seeing all the teams and you're like sizing everyone up, but you
Okay.
can't talk to anyone. They pretty much yell at us like you can't talk to any of the teams because they want to catch all like the meeting the other teams and stuff like that on camera.
Yeah.
And for us, the first three legs was so fast that like even by the second leg, I still didn't know people's names because we just didn't have a chance to like meet and
Yeah.
talk to people. And then once you finish, they put you in a hotel room, so you're not with the other teams. but there's certain parts of where they'll like group everyone together. So for us, we were on a train, for instance, going to Scotland, and that's where
Hmm.
you get to like finally like talk and learn about all these people's different backstories and things like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, just the episodes I've been watching and stuff, it seems like there's a really pretty cool cast. This year, everyone on it seems like really great people with some really cool backgrounds, really interesting stories. So, I'm sure it's probably nice to kind of have some moments where you can learn about the people that you're running the race with.
Yeah, honestly, when we start to meet the cast on our season, we're like, how did we get casted? Like these people are like heroes. Like they've done such inspirational things. We're like, how are we here right now? We just like talking to someone. They're like, yeah, we just met with Oprah. Like these people are on Ellen, and we're just and there's one other team of flight attendants, and they were going around like, are you regular people? We're like, we're just regular people. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, that's funny. Yeah, like I was just like, I mean, even just hearing like the story of you and your dad and stuff, and just like the flight attendant team, for example. I'm just sitting there like, what have I accomplished? Like all these people are doing cool things, and now they're traveling the world, and I'm sitting on my couch in Plymouth, Michigan, just watching my dreams, on TV.
Well, that's the thing for like I always tell people it's like you got to put yourself in that situation or take the opportunity
Hmm.
because like without taking that risk, like if we didn't apply that initially, obviously we heard like 3 years later, but we wouldn't be in
Right.
like this situation. And so that's what my dad always reminds me. He's like, you got to put yourself in the place to like get that opportunity. Things aren't just gonna come to you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So now that you have experience in the reality TV world and, with The Amazing Race, do you ever want to go back into reality TV, whether it's, a different kind of style of reality show or even something maybe similar to The Amazing Race or even The Amazing Race again?
Yeah, it's funny because people keep asking me this. I keep
Yeah.
saying that like Amazing Race is probably the only reality show I do.
Okay.
It combines like my passion of traveling and
Yeah.
also I like very competitive, so both of those. I don't know if I would go on any other reality show. I would probably do The Amazing Race again
Okay.
for sure.
Okay. And now the $1 million question, and hopefully no one, no one would get hurt feelings from it. But would it be with your husband or would it be with your
Oh,
dad?
definitely my dad. Like I don't
Okay.
think my husband and I would do well at all. Like we would
Really?
just be fighting the whole time. Yeah.
See,
Like
it's
it all worked
funny.
out. Like I think I'm glad I went with my dad. But yeah, if I went with my husband, I don't think we would be a good team, honestly.
It's funny. Like sometimes I feel like the people that you're probably, closest with, whether it's a partner or like a best friend or something, I feel like that might not always be the best team when it comes to something like The
Right.
Amazing Race.
Yep, for sure.
Awesome. So, Natalia, based on your experience from the race, is there any big life lesson or takeaway that you really have brought with you from that experience?
I think the main thing is just like like the last episode aired, we end up getting eliminated
Hmm.
for us. And something my
Yeah.
dad told me is just like we can't keep like dwelling on the past or change the past, but like we can make a difference moving forward and learn and grow from that.
Hmm.
And it was just actually announced, but we might be back next episode. So just learning from kind of like the failures and being willing to put yourself in a situation where you might be able to fail. You might fail, but learning and growing from that.
I love that. Yeah. I think that that's something that, a lot of people struggle with, failure or just the fear of failure even. And, I'm 25, so I know we're close in age. I feel like people around our age, especially as we maybe navigate life after high school or maybe we go to college, whatever, that's when life kind of hits and you're like, you almost want to be perfect with everything. But the reality is like we're gonna fall flat on our face time after time. But it's just,
Exactly.
how we
Yep.
respond to it.
Just have to keep moving forward. And
Yeah.
it like at the time it could feel like the worst thing in the world. And then you look back and you're like,
Yes.
oh, that's why that happened. Like everything
Right.
really does happen for a reason.
It does. And it's funny that you mentioned that because I think back to, my time in high school or, in my early mid-teens where, maybe I don't know, you can't go to the midnight movie premiere or
Oh,
your,
right. Yeah.
high school crush doesn't go to the dance with you and you think your life is over and
Yeah.
and it does suck in that moment, but then you can look back in a couple of years and just say like, wow, like that was just, it felt terrible then, but it was just so insignificant in the grand scheme.
Exactly. It's like all perspective.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that, perspective is something that it sounds really kind of cliche, I guess, but the older I've gotten, the more that I've seen the importance of perspective and the way that we look at things. And, even as we, were joking before we started talking about just putting out good energy that the technology would cooperate with us, I've just started to realize, as I've matured and stuff, that like even just the way that we think and positive, mindsets and stuff can really make a big difference in our lives.
Oh yeah, just definitely having that like good vibes, a positive
Mm-hmm.
energy, and like having that mindset, because you can like dwell over something, but that's not going to do anything for you. And it's funny because like when we're going through the Amazing Race audition, one of
Mm-hmm.
my pet peeves is my dad is just like so positive all the time. That's like sometimes it gets annoying, but
Yeah.
like really like that's something I need like for him to like, especially when we were on the race, just remind me like you just have to like have that positive mentality, because you never know what's going to happen, and you can't just you're just gonna be dragged down thinking over and over again about stuff that you can't really change now.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I'll be the first to admit that I think we all, have that family member or that friend in our life that's almost like too positive.
Yep.
And we're like, oh my gosh, shut up. Like, let me just like complain or be upset about this. So, I
Exactly.
could definitely see how you said, like sometimes like, it's a great thing that your dad's super positive, but sometimes you're like, Dad, just not
Yep.
now. Now's
Yeah.
not the time. But, again, that perspective of looking back, and now it's cool to hear you say like, that's what I needed, or that was super beneficial. Because yeah, I mean, when things are so stressful, I feel like having that positivity can just, make the difference between the overall experience and how you end up doing as well.
Exactly.
Awesome. So, with the traveling aspect of it, is how do I want to say it? Like, if you ever travel someplace for the race where there are barriers with like understanding language or communication, is that something that like have you thought about how that like impacts the experience before you go on, or is it just like in the moment you're like, okay, I don't speak this language and now I have to figure out how to communicate?
Yeah, I think it's honestly like it naturally happens. Like,
Okay.
so yeah, because even when we were in Scotland, like I
Hmm.
didn't have that hard of a time understanding people's accents when we are getting
Right.
directions, but my dad was struggling. But I
Okay.
think it's just like you make it work. You use
Yeah.
like more of like hand gestures and communication like that, and you somehow figure out how to communicate, even if there is those language barriers in certain countries that we went to.
So with like the language barrier, obviously if you had your phone, you could, type something out, translate it. Are you allowed to like ask a random person on the street, like, hey, can I use your phone to communicate or something? Or is that like a no-go?
Yeah, so you are allowed to do that, and that's what we did. Most of the time, we would say like, we like point, and we like, do you have Google Maps or something? And we
Okay.
would like open up their Google Maps
Yeah.
on their phone. So people were, it's just incredible how nice people are around the world. Like I would be scared of like two people with like a camera crew and audio person like running up to me
Yeah.
like asking for directions. But people are just so nice and willing to help in all these countries that we went to.
That's awesome. And, not necessarily saying like how nice people are, but did things change or feel different when you had to resume filming after the pause with kind of more knowledge about the pandemic? Like, again, not saying people were less nice, but maybe was communication different, or were people more hesitant, or was, the um, production team more hesitant with like you guys as contestants communicating or getting close with just like citizens and stuff?
Right. Yeah. So one change after we went back is a lot of it, the countries we went to, we were more in the countryside, so it was more rural. So it wasn't like
Okay.
we were running in through like big cities or things like
Right.
that anymore. And so that actually added a challenge of like even getting directions in some of these
Yeah.
places, because like there's no one really around. But one thing that the production team did make us do is we had to wear masks. Everyone that on the cast was vaccinated and everything, but if we were going to someone to ask directions, we had to be masked up. So
Okay.
yeah, you'll see people with masks. It's going to definitely be a
Hmm.
different feel to the Amazing Race.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so, I guess, weird, to say, like, I guess because we've been in the pandemic for a while, it's kind of normal now, but just
Right.
kind of even to see, a show I grew up watching and now just to see how like the changes are going to be, like you said, just the differences. It's going to be kind of weird and a little surreal, honestly, to be able to watch these episodes now.
Yeah, and they made a lot of other changes too. So like we didn't take any commercial flights.
Okay.
We had a chartered plane, which was nice.
Yeah.
Uh, and a little bit different because a lot of like it really like a lot of seasons of The Amazing Race. There's a lot of like flight drama and
Mm-hmm.
action does take place in the airport.
Yeah.
So that was one big change. And then we didn't take any taxis or public transportation anywhere.
Right.
So a lot of it is going to be like self-driving
Okay.
after the pandemic, after we go back.
Yeah. Okay. And now, like, if you don't mind me asking, like, was there, coming back for the second time with filming, was there ever any like hesitation for you and your dad about like, is this safe enough? Is like, are there going to be safety procedures that make us comfortable, or was it always like, you know, we trust everything, we're going to do our best to be safe, but this is a great opportunity, we definitely want to do it, and just kind of trust that, the right procedures are in place?
Yeah, I think we just trusted The Amazing Race, and
Okay.
they took so many
Oh, I'm
precautions
sure. Yeah.
that we just had so much like faith in like what they were
Mm-hmm.
doing. And we knew like they wouldn't like take us out if they didn't feel 100% confident.
That's good.
Um, that like none of like that there would even be like even a tiny risk of exposure. The way they set it up is everyone we interacted with was already tested before. That we got tested every other day. And we were again like very in remote areas with not a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people. And the countries we went to were very low COVID cases as well.
Okay. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, obviously Amazing Race is a huge huge show, and I'm sure they have a lot of great resources and obviously credibility and stuff. So, I assumed that they would, have their T's crossed and I's dotted to make sure everything is as safe as possible, or they wouldn't resume. So, it's really reassuring to hear that that was communicated to you and that you did feel safe, to film the rest of the season.
Yeah, and because we knew like they stopped filming 3 episodes in, so for them to
Hmm.
even do that, that means
That's true.
they could have like continued production at the time, but they really care about the safety of everyone.
Definitely. And so you said that you started filming the second time around this past fall. When did it end filming?
I can't say that yet.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
spoiler, but yeah, I can't say that.
Okay. So we will move on from that then. Okay. Um and now going back to the original starting of the filming, you said that was February of 2020.
Yes.
Are you allowed to say like how long you filmed before you went on the pause, or did you already say that? I'm sorry if you did.
Yeah, it was like a week. It was like the
Oh, really?
length we
Okay.
filmed was like 3 days, so it wasn't very long. And I had taken
Okay.
off a month, and I had only ended up using 2 weeks. So, and then they sent us home. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So wow, even to put it in perspective, so you said like 3 legs was the equivalent of like a week in real time. Like,
Yes.
okay.
It was actually 3 days.
Or
Yeah,
three,
like three
sorry, three
days.
days.
Cause
Yeah.
yeah.
So that'd be like a leg a day.
Yep. Yeah. Because we
Wow.
filmed the first two were in London, and so we filmed
Yep.
those actually. We flew in that night, filmed that first leg, and then we filmed right in the morning the next day, and then we took the train to Scotland and filmed Scotland the day after that. So it was
Okay.
like back to back to back.
Gotcha. And now like if you can answer this,
Mhm.
like when everyone gets together the first time, like you said, you flew in to London, like did you all fly in together, or was it like here's where you have to be at this time, however you want to get here works?
Yes, we started the race from our homes, and then
Okay.
we actually all like flew into from different airports. So we went to Chicago,
Okay.
and we met the other team, Michael and Mo, and Dusty and
Hmm.
Ryan there. And
Okay.
so us three teams were flying from Chicago to London, and then similar things were happening. I think in LA and Charlotte. So
Okay.
teams were little groups of teams were meeting up and then going to London. So it was nice for us because we got to actually talk to Mike and Mo and Dusty and Ryan.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Chicago.
Okay. Very cool. And like when you met with those teams, you mentioned you were able to get to know them and talk to them. Was there any rules like you're not allowed to talk game or you're not allowed to strategize, or was it just kind of Do what you want.
Yeah, it was the cameras were rolling, so they're like, do what you want, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Gotcha.
it was nice. I was like, I was shocked initially because I didn't know anything about these teams, because like I was saying,
Yeah.
we didn't get to talk before that. So the first thing I learned is Ryan was incarcerated, wrongly accused for murder for 10 years. And so that
Yep.
I was like, wow. Like, and then Mike and Mo are obviously like they're singing cops, that they went
Yeah.
viral for some videos. So that's when I was starting to be like, what kind of was this supposed to be like a viral season? Like, why are we here? But
Right.
I was just amazed by their stories.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of hearing you explain them right now, it just like it really makes me stop and pause and even get a little, chills, to be honest. Just it's like crazy some of the experiences that people have. And um I think that that's a cool thing about reality shows, or about Amazing Race specifically, that like you can kind of have a platform to talk about, things that have happened, or things that you're passionate about, or causes that you believe in, and share that kind of knowledge with the world.
Exactly. And yeah, like the entire cast we had this season, just everyone was just really good people, genuine
Yeah,
people. So we
that's awesome.
were able to be there.
Very cool. And is it something where you think, even though it was kind of hard to build those friendships and relationships because of the chaoticness of the race, like, do you think that you have potentially made some lifelong friends, or people that you do want to keep in touch with after
Oh yeah,
the
they're
race?
like family now. Yeah.
Okay, that's
Everyone.
awesome.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. We have
Very
little
cool.
Skype sessions after the episodes so we can rehash what happened. Yeah.
Now, whether it's in those kind of like Skype sessions, or maybe you watch it on your own or something, do you ever watch an episode and think like, what the heck was I doing there? Like,
Oh yeah,
do you
that
ever
was the
look
last
back? Okay.
episode. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I just it's interesting like watching yourself on TV.
Yeah.
And in the moment, you like again, like I said, the stress, and you make wrong decisions, and I'm sitting
hmm
there like, why did I ever do that? Like,
Right.
yeah.
Now, something that I kind of just thought of is like, was there, or even still, is there any kind of like nervousness about putting yourself out there on a reality show, where what if some random person thinks that I'm annoying, or like thinks that I'm dumb or something because of a decision that I made? Like, was there ever any kind of like fear of criticism or anything like that, or were you always kind of just like, I'm here to do my own thing, and hopefully people will like me, but maybe some people might not, and that's okay if not?
Yeah, I think if you're gonna be on reality TV, like there's probably always gonna be that little bit of anxiety, because
Yeah.
people are judgy. But
hmm
someone gave me good advice, because I was getting really deep and reading comments and things like that, and they're like, you can't do that. Like, those people
Right.
don't know you,
Right.
so you can't, like, people are gonna judge and say things, but they don't really know you, so you can't take that to heart.
Definitely. I think that's really good advice. And I mean, I think that depending on the situation and stuff, people can go on reality shows, and that could maybe change their whole life, or maybe that could change some of their, personality, or, how they are when they get back. But I think a lot of people, they also just come back and they're the same old person they've always been. And, that's just who they are.
Exactly. That was the one thing, is like with being on the Amazing Race, you just get to
hmm
be yourself. It's not
Yeah,
like we're putting on a show or anything, and
that's true.
just being our authentic selves.
Yeah, which is super important in anything. Just like, I think we all want to be our authentic selves, and just being able to do that, and meet people that are also their authentic self, and appreciative of who you are. I think that that's really meaningful and impactful too.
Yes.
Awesome. So now, I'm curious. We've kind of talked about, your perspective on the race and your experiences, and the idea of kind of putting yourself out there and not worrying about the criticism. And, like I said, we're pretty similar in age, in our 20s. Do
Yeah.
things kind of change? Like, was your dad's perspective different with him being, older than we are, where, maybe he was maybe a little more nervous, or was he just super excited about it? I guess, what was some of his feelings going into the show and his experience?
Yeah, honestly, he like never really cares about other people think. So he was just like, I'm gonna enjoy this. Like,
Okay.
he has so much energy. Like, my friends
Yeah.
keep saying he's like the main character on our team. Like, he just has a lot of positive energy and good vibes. So
Yeah.
he was just full of energy the whole time.
I love that. Yeah, I certainly, from just watching and stuff, he seems like a great guy, full of a lot of passion and energy, and just like honestly, just kind of like a love for life.
Yeah, like yeah, it's funny because like I've never seen him like when I was younger. I never like would see him come back from work and ever be like upset or sad. Like he would
Okay.
always have a smile on his face, and like that's just something I remember like from growing up, and like something that just stuck with me. Just like you got to enjoy what you're doing. Like I want to be like him. Like go to work or like at your
Yeah.
job, and then you're just like at the end of the day you're smiling and enjoy it and
Yeah.
passionate about what you're doing.
Yeah, I think that's super important. And, I think that it's something, again, a lot of people struggle with. And I know I've certainly struggled with of like finding that like passion for everything I do, in life. Like I think that there's definitely things that I'm passionate about and I love doing them, but then there's some things that I'm like, I don't really enjoy doing this. So like why am I doing it? And
Right.
struggling with that, like, let's use like a job, for example. It's like, well, it pays the bills, but I kind of dread doing it. So, is it worth it to stick with something like that? Or, should I find what really I am passionate about and what I can come home from and have a smile on my face every day?
Yeah, that's it. That's a good point. I asked like my husband once. I was like, "Do you
Hmm.
enjoy going to work on Mondays?" And he's like, "Yeah, I love it." So that's kind of my benchmark is like, if you enjoy going to work on a Monday, then you're in the right field.
Yeah, no, that's a really good benchmark for it. And, just quick, shout out to your husband for, I'm sure the crazy times that he's had, being in the medical field. So, thank you to him for all that he does. And I'm sure it's probably been a very hectic time. And again, probably for you as well, just being partners with someone that is, in the medical field during this time.
Thanks. Yeah. At first,
Yeah.
like we didn't like at first I don't think anyone really realized like what was going on with the pandemic. And so like
Hmm.
even like he got put on like working in the emergency room and like working directly with COVID patients and things like that. And
Wow.
so he would come home and we would like I would be like jump in the shower immediately. Like
Yeah.
that was kind of like our mindset for a couple weeks. We didn't know like what was really going on, but
Hmm.
here we are now. And who would have thought we would still be here in kind of like the pandemic now, but we move forward.
Yeah, yeah, I think it comes back to, just that idea of moving forward, and it's crazy. And, I I'm sure I'm not the only one, but I definitely have like kind of had that feeling of losing track of time through the pandemic where like I might be like, "Oh yeah, so and so happened." And then it's like, well, "That was like 2 years ago that like that event happened or whatever." And
I know
it's
it's yeah,
yeah.
time has flown by so fast. Like it's
Hmm.
yeah, it doesn't feel like it's been so long.
Right. And yeah, I mean, it's crazy where it's like we're still in this, and who knows how long we'll be in it, how much longer we'll be in it. But it's like just trying to do what we can every day to keep moving forward, and again having that positive mindset, and just I guess making the most out of the situation. I definitely think that this is a tough situation. I don't want to make light of the situation at all, but just trying to take care of ourselves, physically, and our mental health too during this time is super important.
Yeah, I think that's a good call out on the mental health because for
Hmm.
me, like I went remote and like sitting and not like for a while, like I would just work in like one room and not like walk
Yeah.
around or take breaks because it's easy now that when you're working remote to just have back to back meetings all
Yeah.
day. And that can really affect your mental health. So that was one thing, like after a while, I was like, I need to like walk around, I need to go get
Right.
fresh air, like kind of the adjustment to being remote.
Yeah. Are you still remote now?
I'm still remote. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I think that you brought up some good points. And even for me, like I've always been kind of like I love to, be active and work out and be outdoors and stuff. And then, when the pandemic first hit, I was very much like I'd rather be, you know, overly cautious than not cautious enough. So like I really would just stay indoors. And like, it's weird how you start to feel like that effect when you're not getting fresh air or not getting like sunlight outside or whatever. It's like you have to take those breaks and do those things because it does come back to your mental health and your physical health when it comes to stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I know you kind of mentioned getting up, going for walks, going outside and stuff, but is there anything else, that throughout your life or especially during these times or even on the race that has helped kind of like channel the mental health, or to make sure that you're in like the right mindset to knock out whatever you have going on in the day, whether it is work or whether it is a competition on the race?
Yeah, so for a while, and I've tried meditation before, but it
Okay.
never really worked for me because my mind just wanders like all over the
Yeah.
place. But one thing I started doing is just like listening to music, like
Okay.
just instrumental like music, and just like not focusing on everything, just trying to like clear my mind, and that's gonna help before I like dive into something like pretty deep. Uh, so that's one thing I've been doing.
Okay. Instrumental music. I like it.
Like, yeah, I have this like Pandora station that like has
Okay.
a bunch of different like coffee house cover like instrumental things that I really like to listen to.
I appreciate the fact that you said it's a Pandora playlist, because I feel like now everyone's like Spotify, Apple Music.
I know.
So like, shout out to
Yeah, like I get a
Pandora.
lot of heat for still using Pandora. Like I'll still use Spotify, but like if I'm like casually like listening to something and I don't really care about like for instance like just like the instrumental, like I'll just put on
Hmm.
Pandora, so it's kind of like a
Yeah,
background thing.
exactly. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just like that, phenomenon of having way too many, competing things coming at you at once. But I feel like something like Spotify or Apple Music, there's so many options. It's like, I don't know what
Yeah,
I want to listen to. Like,
exactly.
I just
Like
want
I
to go
don't
to
like
Pandora and
choices.
say,
Like I just want to
like,
yeah.
2000s pop and just like hear these
Yep.
playlists or instrumentals, or, coffee house music or whatever.
Exactly. We're on the
Awesome. I
same page,
love it.
Zach.
Yeah. See, this is perfect. We have that good energy. The
Yeah.
the vibes are the same. I love it. Awesome. So, moving forward, I guess, what, if you have anything in mind, like, what do you think is in your future? Like, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, is there any specific goals that you have, or anything that you want to accomplish, or anything that you're working towards? Or is it just like career focused for you right now?
Yeah, so in like besides my career, because
Hmm.
obviously like I want to grow as a designer
Yeah.
and do things like that. But one of my dreams, it's kind of, and I don't, with my career, like we'll see how this fits. But I've always wanted to open a coffee shop,
Okay.
uh, because first of all I'm kind of addicted to coffee, but I
Okay.
just like the coffee house kind of atmosphere, and my
Yeah.
dad's in the restaurant business, and so like
Right.
doing something like that with him is something that I've always wanted to do. So I don't know if it's like 2 or 3 years, but that's
Okay.
like a goal that like eventually I want to kind of work towards, even if
Okay.
it's starting off with like a food truck coffee thing or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. I actually don't drink coffee. I'm not like a caffeine person,
Yeah.
which people think I'm crazy, but like I just can't do caffeine. Like, I don't know. It gets me too like jittery,
Too
and like I get
jittery.
all like, yeah, I get anxious and everything with caffeine. So I'm not a caffeine drinker, but I love going to um, coffee shops, especially local ones, and just it's a great atmosphere. And I'll get like, I don't know, water, or maybe if I'm feeling
They
crazy,
have
I'll get like a
tea.
hot
Well, I
chocolate.
guess tea has caffeine too.
Yeah. I mean, I guess hot chocolate has a little
Yeah.
caffeine, but I mean, I can do that. Like, I can do like one hot chocolate, like in the cold weather. So, I'll get that, or like a pastry, or, some kind of sweet treat or something. I'll get, so I definitely love the local kind of coffee shop vibes and just the experience. So that'd be really cool to see if you do that in the next, maybe not a couple of years, but
Yeah.
sometime
Yeah.
in the
Down the
future.
line.
Down the line. Yeah, you have plenty of time
Yeah.
left. Awesome. Have you given any thought to, like, with this coffee shop, like, I don't know, like a name, or like is there like something special about it, like something that makes it unique, or even like a location? Like,
Yeah,
would you
I'm
want it to
not
be in like our
honestly
area?
not too much, but the concept I was
Okay.
thinking about is like kind of coffee around the world, kind of bringing in that travel aspect. So like
Okay.
showcasing like how different countries potentially you could order drink, how they like have their coffee, and different kind of like drinks specialized to different regions and things like that.
That would be really cool. Okay. So for the coffee drinkers that do listen to this, do you have like a favorite coffee that you've ever had, whether it's, something you can get locally or something international?
Yeah, so I traveled to Costa Rica a couple years ago, and obviously they like have a lot of like coffee
Hmm.
bean They manufacture a lot of the coffee beans and produce coffee beans there. So
Yeah.
they're really had really good coffee there. There's I think this is tea though in Michigan in Dearborn. There's some Yemeni coffee that's
Okay.
really good with like cardamom. So that's another I like the like mix of spices in the coffee, which was interesting.
Okay. Very cool. And I know you said coffee. Do you like tea just as much, or is
I like
coffee?
coffee better, but I do
Okay.
like tea as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just the hot beverage then,
I know, hot beverages.
especially during the winter, right?
Oh yeah. But I'm like the person that will be in the summer drinking like a hot like cappuccino.
Oh, I don't know how you can do that. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, I mean, I guess teach their own. I know plenty of people that would like eat an ice cream in the winter, so you know, we all have our
You'll be
things.
surprised. Those ice cream shops they're still pretty packed. Like I was driving by one the other day.
Yeah, definitely now that you say that, of course, in our area, I can think of a few that are like local places that shut down for the season, but I feel
Yeah.
like the ones that are open year round, like, yeah, they do get pretty good business
Yeah.
even during this time. Awesome. Well, Natalia, it's been great talking to you and just hearing about your experience. And again, as a super fan of the race myself, it's really cool to hear a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that I never thought of, or honestly probably would never hear about. So thank you for sharing everything that you have.
Yeah, no problem. This has been great.
Yeah, awesome. So, um, to anyone that's listening that really, resonated with anything that Natalia said, or you're interested in the race, or um, I don't know, just maybe want to reach out and see if you connect or something, is there any place that people could find you at, or social media or anything that they connect with you on?
Yeah, my Instagram is Nat M Kumar.
Okay, perfect.
Actually no, that is not my Instagram. I'm like, what is my Instagram? It's at Natalia Kumar.
Okay, perfect. So at Natalia Kumar's Instagram, I'll also put that in the description. So like I said, if anyone is interested in seeing her journey or her experience, her and her dad's experience on the Amazing Race, or maybe you're thinking about applying to be on the Amazing Race, definitely check her out. She's an awesome person to connect with and to see the journey. So definitely check her out there. And Natalia, is there any kind of last thoughts, message, words, or anything that you want to give to anyone that's listening?
No, I think this has just been awesome. And I guess I'll say like just something that my dad always tells me too. He's just full of quotes is like, if your dreams don't scare you, you aren't dreaming big enough. So just continue to dream big.
I love that. I also feel like I need to meet your dad at some point and get some of these quotes, because
I know.
I feel like
He's
I'm
full
getting
of
so much like
advice.
secondhand wisdom, and I'm like, this is great. I should be writing this down. Awesome. Well, Natalia, thank you so much for taking the time to talk. It's been an absolute blast, and I appreciate it greatly. And I'm excited to continue to see your journey on the race potentially, and to also hopefully hear about this coffee shop sometime down the road.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Zach.
Of course, thanks. Take care.
Bye.